Welcome to A Moment with Modern Mentors. Hi, Rachel. It's so great to have you on A Moment with Modern Mentors. Season 2, A Call for Change. We are so excited to have you here. Why don't you introduce yourself to the audience?
Sure. Hi, Mia. My name is Rachel Chant. I am a theatre director and one of the festival directors of Bondi Festival, which is an arts festival that happens in Bondi over winter. So we're just about to kick off our 17 days and nights of theatre, comedy, cabaret, circus, ice skating, lots of other, gosh, it's not that far away, and already I'm like, oh, there's so many little bits and pieces of it that I can't even capture in my one sentence.
It's so exciting. We've been we've been aware of Bondi Festival for quite a long time now, and it's been, on everyone's mind. The Bondi community is getting very involved in it. Tell us a little bit about how you got involved in Bondi Festival. What started it all?
Yeah, sure. So I grew up in regional New South Wales in a town called Armidale, and I moved to Sydney. So I studied in Armidale and then moved to Sydney in 2009, I think. And then nobody from my degree moved. I'm going way back here. You're getting the origin degree. But very few people from my degree moved to Sydney. So I kind of moved on my own and then had to build networks here. So one of the first things that I did was I got in contact with a company called Rock Surfers Theatre Company, who used to be the resident theatre company at the Bondi Pavilion. And so I got in touch with them and arranged to meet up, and so went and had a meeting with Phil Spencer on the balcony of the Bondi Pavilion. And I was chatting to him and I said, oh, have you got anything, is there anything I can volunteer on, any way I can be involved? And he was like, oh yeah, we've just started this new festival called Bondi Feast, it was called then, and we're looking for interns. Do you want to come and intern on the festival? So I interned on the festival in 2013, and then I loved it, and so then I was brought on board as associate producer for the festival in 2014, and then in 2015 I came on board as festival director. So it's sort of like one of those really great situations of sort of being able to find something that you love and that you're able to grow in. And it's kind of one of those weird success stories that you don't hear of that often.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you literally had come straight out of uni and kind of beelined for Bondi and this opportunity and found it, and then you've been involved in it ever since. Is that right?
Yeah, so I think I'd been in Sydney for a little bit, by the 1 or 2 years by the time I'm trying to do my maths there. But yeah, kind of jumped straight in. Didn't really know if festival direction or festivals was something that I necessarily wanted to work in. So I'm a theatre director, so I was kind of looking for opportunities to maybe assistant direct on a play or sort of be involved in the plays. But then the opportunity came up on the festival, and I loved it because I got to meet so many people so quickly, because, you get to meet all of the artists and you get to sort of work with all of them in some way or other, just kind of be involved. And I didn't realize how much I would love it. So I'm very glad that I did love it, because
I imagine the festival has changed quite a lot since 2013, right, from the Bondi Feast. And tell us about what it was like back then and now, where it's at now.
Totally. So 2013 Bondi Feast, I think we ran for 10 days, 10 nights. We were just within the Bondi Pavilion. And that year, I think we had some shows in the Bondi Pavilion Theatre, in the Ocean Room, which is like a tiny little kind of meeting room in the Bondi Pavilion, which we turned into a 30-seat theatre, and the Dolphin Room, which was another little mini room there, which we turned into a 40-seat theatre. And then we had, I think, one show that took place in the Seagull Room, which was that big ballroom that used to be in the Bondi Pavilion, and maybe one show that was downstairs in the gallery. So it was pretty small. They were meeting rooms with curtains wrapped around them and a bunch of blue school chairs put in them. But so I think we had there were less than 20 different shows on that year. And then, in 2019, I think we had 50 different productions that came. We were working within the Bondi Pavilion, but then also we built a festival garden out the back. There was a 120-seat circus tent out the back. We were able to build circus. We had some fire pits. We had roaming performances around. We've sort of, in 2019, Bondi Feast had grown to sort of the biggest it could be. Yeah. And then that's when we decided to merge forces with Bondi Winter Magic to become Bondi Festival. So then that's sort of how those two worlds grew, and it's continuing to grow.
And how long has that been the case for? That's since 2019, is it, that you've merged the two?
Yeah, so after the 2019 festival, that's when we sort of got the cogs moving to merge the two. 2020 was to be our big hurrah for Bondi Festival. Obviously, that didn't happen because the world had other ideas.
Yeah.
But 2021 is going to be the first year that Bondi Festival proper makes its way into the world.
And Bondi Winter Magic is the Ferris wheel and the ice rink predominantly, and that's merged with all the kind of acts and arts and culture schedule.
Yeah, that's right.
Amazing. And so what's involved in kind of putting on a festival? How long does it take you to kind of get it all set up and ready for a launch, and how does that feel?
Yeah, it's a lot. So it's a year-round job. I co-direct the festival with my colleague Phil Spencer. So that guy that I met on that balcony in 2013, we now run the festival together. So we work on the festival year-round, part-time. So Phil's a writer and a performer, and like I said, I'm a director. So we both sort of have our other projects going on the boil throughout the year. But we often say we've got probably the best job in the world, because we get to go to Adelaide Fringe and we get to go to Perth Festival, and we get to sort of travel around the country to look at to suss out what the best shows are, or the kind of artists that we're really interested in, or what's going well and what's exciting us. And so, throughout the year we're watching shows, and then in Feb, so like beginning of the year we're opening. I'm going to go back further. So the festival's on sort of June, July.
Yeah.
And then we spend, August evaluating the year that's been, then September we're planning next year. So the wheels again get turning, and around September we open submissions for artists, and around Feb, and then by late March, early April, we're hoping to have completely locked off our arts program, and then announce it into the world by May and ready to go again by June, July. So it's kind of just an ever-moving,
beast.
Carousel beast. Yeah.
And it feels like your program this year is pretty jam-packed, full of incredible talent, not only from Australia but also some overseas talent too, right?
Yeah, so this year, because of the COVID situation we're in, this year was going to be our small festival. So we've been talking about this year's festival as being, significantly smaller, and it is, it definitely is. But when we looked at everything that we've managed to fit within this year's program, it's still quite hearty. So I think we've got about 30 different productions taking place over the 17 days and nights. And yeah, you're right, there are lots of Bondi locals, lots of Sydney locals, and then we've got some interstate shows. But yeah, this year we were pretty excited that we've actually been able to sneak in an international act. But it's an audio act. So the artists that are bringing us that, it's called Half Man, Half Bull, and they're from the UK. They're a company called the Flanagan Collective, and it's actually my favourite show in this year's festival. So what we've got a campfire down on the sands of South Bondi Beach. You come down, you BYO headphones, you come down, you settle down by the fire, the waves are like rolling in the background. You can see sort of the seagulls flying around above you. You put on your headphones and you listen to this sort of storytelling, musical version of the story of Theseus and then the story of Daedalus. And so it's amazing. It's like these artists are incredible. They're kind of like I don't know, Arctic Monkeys meets The Streets.
Oh my gosh.
Greek myth.
Awesome.
And so you're listening to it and then just sort of painting your own music video in your head as you're watching it. It's wonderful. I went down to the beach and tested it a couple of weeks ago and I was just like, great. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And I mean, what an amazing setting of Bondi Beach and Bondi itself. I mean, the world's kind of most famous beach. And do you have kind of ambitions for the festival that kind of become the Edinburgh Festival kind of style? Is there a world in which this little Bondi Feast Festival, now Bondi Festival, could become a globally renowned festival?
Look, it's actually something that Phil and I have talked about a lot, and we've seen it over the last however long 2013 was, but we've seen it over that time grow in reputation and grow in name. And now, when we go to Adelaide, when we go to Perth, when we go to Melbourne, people know who we are.
Yeah.
So that's been great. But what's always been really important to us is that the festival not get so big that it loses its sort of intimate spark.
Yeah.
And so whilst we're building the festival in a way that we hope that it does grow to international renown, what we want to do is to keep it curated, to keep it small, to keep it intimate. Phil and I go and see absolutely every show that's on at the festival, and that's really important to us. So we want to make sure that it never grows so big that it loses that personal, what it is that's unique about it, I think.
Yeah. And I guess obviously, having a renown around the world doesn't necessarily mean that it's got to be so huge. It can be still nice and intimate, but also have amazing artists come to it. And obviously when things open up, that's, the world is your oyster there. How do you I know you're part of Waverley Council. How does Waverley Council kind of get involved? What's the objective here? Is it really about community? Is it about commerce? What's the point of the festival, apart from obviously bringing arts and culture? And how does Waverley kind of play a part in that?
Yeah, so Waverley Council run the festival and support the festival fully. Like I said, the festival used to be owned by Rock Surfers Theatre Company, right. And then Rock Surfers Theatre Company were one of the companies that were victim to some arts cuts back in 2015. So when Rock Surfers, no longer survived, Waverley Council saw Bondi Feast at that time and got really excited about it and, took it and breathed life back into it, which was really amazing. For Waverley, it's a way of supporting the arts, and it's the way of, Bondi during winter is quiet. It's kind of my favourite time in Bondi because you just get to see the beauty of it without it being, inundated. So there's like a weird sort of peace to Bondi in winter.
Oh, I completely agree.
Yeah.
It's magical.
But then what that brings with it as well is, that the businesses need support, the area needs life breathing into it. So I think that's the magic that Waverley saw in the potential of Bondi Festival, that it could bring life, breathe life into Bondi during winter.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's amazing cause. And so is it very family focused this year, or always is family focused? I know a lot of the program, you know, is for children or parents with younger children. Tell us a little bit how you kind of plan that programming around your audience and who your audience is. Are they coming just from Bondi or from out of area as well?
Yeah, so the festival is, we like there to be something for everyone within the program. So when we joined forces with Bondi Winter Magic, which naturally has that sort of family audience in it, you know, the ice rink and the Ferris wheel really bring the families down. And we'd never done family programming within the arts program before. So we'd only ever done sort of 18 plus programming. And so, but a lot of our artists, you know, a lot of the artists that have their adult show also have their family show. That's sort of
Right.
part and parcel of how they work. And so it was a really exciting opportunity for us to be able to include family programming within the arts program. And so we've got, this year we've programmed all day and all night, so that, you know, you can come down and bring your family down to see a show, and then you can come back by yourself at nighttime. So I think it's still like about 60-40, so 40% family programming, 60% grown-up programming at the moment. But we're really excited. It's our first year of doing this, and we were, you know, it's a test. It was a not a test. What's the word? Like a risk. You know, we didn't know for sure how the family programming would go, but it's gone gangbusters. Most of the family shows are already sold out, and we haven't even hit school holidays yet. So we're pretty excited about it. It feels like now the festival really is for everyone in a way that it hasn't necessarily been able to be before.
Yeah, amazing. And you do ticketing on the program, don't you? It's not just free programming, there's paid programming as well.
Yeah, so a majority of our events are paid events, but what's been really important to us is that everything stays super affordable and accessible. So we want artists, you know, because artists take a risk with shows, so we want artists to be able to, you know, be supported properly by our festival, but also we want to make sure that everyone can come along. So no ticket is over. I don't even think we've hit $35 this year. So everything is under $35. The family shows are even cheaper. We don't want you to have to break the bank in the middle of winter to come out. Like, it takes a lot to get people to leave the house in winter as it is.
Yeah.
So we never wanted to make price an extra barrier there for that as well.
Yeah, fantastic. And each year you say you open up the festival to locals and kind of people to put themselves forward. How does that work? So do you see lots of kind of local or young artists from the area kind of applying for a slot on the program? And then how do you choose? Tell us how that process takes place.
It's an interesting alchemy, curating a festival. So we opened the festival's curated via submissions. So we opened for submissions, like I said, in Jan to March, generally every year. And then it's about looking at what is available in terms of our space every year. So, you know, this year our only venue really is the upstairs at the Wayside Chapel. So it's about, you know, what shows will work in that venue and what shows, you know, will work with a small intimate audience, as opposed to some shows, you know, you feel like you need the big house of 200 in order to really make it spark. So it's about looking at the venue. It's about looking at what else we've got in the program. I remember one year we had 4 Amy Winehouse cabarets pitched to us, and we were like, great, we can't program all 4 of these unless we, you know, there was a moment where we thought, oh, maybe we just have an Amy Winehouse venue, and that's just what that is.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, it's a tricky job, and I think that's why Phil and I work together so well as well, because we both have different tastes. Yeah. And we both we feel like we can represent different audiences as well, in terms of thinking about who might want what and what our audiences want to see. There are some fierce I wouldn't say arguments, but there are some fierce discussions.
Negotiations.
Yeah. Every now and then you have to pull in a third party to be like, all right, what do we reckon? But generally once you sort of start getting the pieces of the festival together, we're like, okay, it kind of starts to speak for itself and to say what it needs. The gaps start to show themselves, and you're like, all right, we need something like this or something like that to really round it out. So it's my favorite part of the year, after the festival itself, but the curating that week is pretty exciting, getting to dream up what it's actually going to be.
And you and Phil, you've kind of almost created a bit of an identity around yourselves and the festival now, which I think is really great, because it having that person or people that you can say, okay, this is who's put it on, builds a real kind of connection for the audiences. Tell us a little bit about how you stepped into those roles and what your two roles are.
Yeah, look, we're often asked to describe how we differentiate our roles, and it's really tricky. We've sort of we found that because Phil's a writer, and so he has a very distinct voice, and then I also have my own particular style. But what's happened over the last few years is that now we've been able to write things and you can't tell whether it's come from Phil or me, which I think is a good thing. But it's really tricky to kind of outline where one of us professionally, where one of us ends and the other one kind of begins, which is a really good thing, because it means that when one of us is away, then the other one really can hold the fort together, and we can sort of work very seamlessly in that sense. But we're co-directors. We even now you can see me sort of struggling to talk about how that breakdown really works.
Do you have different roles that you both do, or do you both kind of just collaborate on everything and divvy things up on the fly?
It's more the latter. So we have different strengths.
You'll just naturally pick something out and work on that. It just works.
Yeah, it's like
just a marriage.
It shouldn't work, but it does. So I'm sure it's infuriating for people working alongside us, being like, who is doing this? And we're like, we both are.
We both are. It's ours both.
Yeah.
And personally, so, obviously professionally, you've kind of, I guess, built up a bit of an identity around Bondi Festival. What does this mean for you personally, in terms of kind of your own career growth and where you've come from? Because obviously you've got another part of you, which is a theatre director that you do as well. Just talk us a little bit how you balance both these kind of, I guess, roles and how it kind of fits in with your personal goal of for your career.
So I'm a theatre director in my other life, I guess. It's another life. So I've just come off working on a show at Ensemble Theatre, and I yesterday had auditions for my next play with Australian Theatre for Young People, and then I'm heading off directly after this to do some promotional work for another show that I've got coming up next year. So it's sort of it's all happening at once at the moment, which is
great.
Always the way. But yeah, I'm also I feel very privileged to have a lot of work at the moment, given the last 12 months of when we didn't know, what kind of work was going to be around at the moment. So I feel like I'm in a really fortunate and a really great position. But yeah, it's my work at the festival is part-time. So year round it's part-time, and obviously cranks up to full-time during certain periods. But it's great because it means that I can go off and direct a show, and I can sort of be working on other projects on the side, which I think is why I've been able to work on the festival for such a long time. So it's been I think, 8 years of working on the festival now. And I think that part of that is because the festival keeps growing. And so I keep being able, the festival and my personal sort of ambitions for growth are going up alongside of each other, which has been really wonderful. But then it also means that I've been able to, because I've been able to do these shows on the side, I feel like I've been able to grow in all facets alongside each other, which has been...
Yeah, it seems so complementary. And I guess as you become more experienced at running the festival, you understand the process around it better and better every year, you then know the parts of the festival that are going to be full-time, and you can kind of accommodate that in your, booking your other work. How fantastic. I mean, it just sounds like a fantastic, kind of symmetry that you've got going on with the festival and also doing directing work, because it keeps your hand in the actual directing part, right?
Yeah, and it means that, I always think like it really helps to be a part of the industry, know? So it's
hands-on.
It's, if you're working as an artist, you understand what it's like to program an artist, and you understand what it's like to not program an artist. And so I think that's a really important thing to stay involved in. And, they just satisfy different parts of my brain as well.
Yeah.
I love curating the festival and I love working on the festival, but it's a completely different thing to, working with the creative team to bring a play together and to bring that to life. So I feel very, very lucky to be able to do both things that I love.
Yeah, fantastic. It sounds wonderful. So I wanted to just kind of, before we sign off talking about Bondi Festival and start talking about a few other things, tell us your hot tips for the festival, things that we just got to see if they're not already sold out.
100% get down to Half Man, Half Bull around the fireside. It is excellent. And it's going to be magical. And I mean, just bring a coat. You'll be around the fire, but I think still bring a coat.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just had to pull out my quick, you can't see it with this, but I had to quickly pull out the quick guide to be like, oh my gosh, there's so many things happening over the next 2 weeks. But I think the Conchetta Caristo is an excellent upcoming comedian, and so she's got this excellent show about having to change her identity as a result of domestic violence. So it's this really important show that she is just so funny and one of the funniest young women that we've got coming out at the moment. So I would definitely get along to that. And then Werewolves, although Werewolves is almost sold out, but Werewolves is going to be so much fun. So it's an interactive role-playing game. I did it in Adelaide a few years ago, and then I've gone back and done it every time that I've been in Adelaide because it's just so good. And the host, Nick, is incredible. And his costume, you'll see him around Bondi in his costume. And his costume is much better suited to Bondi in winter than it is to Adelaide in the middle of summer.
Note to self. And it must be so kind of, I guess, rewarding knowing that the programming that you're doing is really helping some of these artists launch their career, right?
Yeah, I think one of the things that's been really great about Bondi Festival is that we try to balance emerging artists with more established artists. So, you know, somebody that's doing their first show can be sharing a double bill with somebody like Michael Hing, who's on Triple J and is, you know, quite a successful comedian. And so that's something that we've always kept as part of our remit. And it's so good, you know, some of the people that we've programmed in our first year are now way too big for us. and that's a really great thing. We love that. And, you know, there's some of the artists.
You can put your hat on them now.
Oh yeah, totally. We'll do it.
We launched them.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm part of the Bondi Chamber of Commerce, as you know, and we also have been working with Bondi Festival and Waverley Council to help Bondi businesses sponsor the festival. But that's pretty exciting too, right? Because that gives local businesses and all businesses the chance to be part of the festival itself and really drive that commerce and business piece too. Do you want to talk a little bit about how you kind of carve out festival assets to support local businesses and help them get involved?
Yeah, one of the things that we're excited about this year is that we've kind of just rebranded and renamed, I guess, a program called Festival Finds, where we're hoping that where lots of local businesses can offer special offers to the festival audiences. And this is just sort of a small way that we're hoping will bring audiences to Bondi and then get them to stay and, engage in what's going on in Bondi as well. Because our audience is, 25% from the Waverley LGA, and I think 23% of that is from Bondi itself, but then 75% is shipped in. And so we have a lot of audiences from the inner west and, out wider as well. So it's kind of, we're hoping we spend a lot of time cafe hopping around Bondi. And so we're hoping that, when our audiences come, then they can sort of hang around and see what's there beyond the beach as well, to have a look closer and see what else is going on.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, thank you. That's been so interesting and fascinating, and gosh, job envy. But I wanted to just ask you a couple of questions that we ask all of our guests, because we're kind of starting to run out of time, unfortunately. And one of the questions is, what book have you read recently, or not? It doesn't need to be recently, that really has impacted you, whether it's in a professional way or personal way, that you would like to share with the audience?
Oh, these are the ones that I really should have thought about before just jumping online.
I can give you the second question and you can have a little kind of think in your head about that.
Okay, great.
The other question is, if you had a megaphone right now and you were able to speak to the world about what, an important topic, what would that important topic in your mind be?
Let me answer the first question first.
Okay.
The book that stuck with me was The Museum of Modern Love. Have you read it?
No.
It's amazing. It's by an Australian author who, now I'm just going to, while we're chatting, do a quick Google. It's beautiful. It's, wait, now we just have to wait for my Google to work. Dun, 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 by Heather Rose. And so I probably read it about a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
And I found myself like falling in love with the arts all over again as a result of it. So it's sort of about, look, I'm not going to talk about what it's about, but it's Marina Abramovich is like a big character in it, and this idea of the muse and art and just falling in love with the process and falling in love with art. And I think everyone should read it to I'm
going to get it up on the socials today and spruik it out.
Do it. Get a sense of, just what it is that art can do as well, I think.
Yeah.
And I love it. And also it's a local author, and I just love that.
Yeah.
And what I would shout about to the world, God, it feels so hard to have to choose one topic, but because in the context of just having spoken about this and in the context of the year that it's been, I think I would talk about the importance of art in bringing us together and the role that it plays. I think a lot of artists felt a lot of heartache around that during COVID, when we lost our ability to do what we love, and we also there was that question of whether what we do and what's so important to us is important to the rest of the world. And my friend sent me a message yesterday she won't mind me saying it, but she took her 2-year-old to the, I'm going to read it. She won't mind. She took her 2-year-old to see a play for the first time.
Yeah.
And
I'm getting goosebumps already, and I haven't even heard what you're going to say.
She said, we went to see this play. I watched my son gasp and beam and spontaneously erupt into applause, looking around to check that we had all seen the same thing that he did. Everyone laughed and exclaimed and sat still for 55 minutes in a way that would never happen in a TV or a classroom or anywhere else. He was so pumped afterwards. He ran all through town and tried to dive into every fountain.
Oh.
And I think just that feeling of collective experience and getting to see this 2-year-old experience that for the first time is such a solid reminder of what it is that we're doing.
Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah. And I mean, really, you feel that obviously the arts and culture, industry has really hurt over the last, 18 months now, and continues to kind of, in many countries around the world, be at a bit of a standstill with hard, it's very difficult to kind of mobilize it, even if you're being safe and socially distancing. It just really is hard to replicate. I know they've done a few festivals overseas just over the weekend, which are, COVID safe. You do your test before you go in and so on. But it just makes it really, really tricky for kind of scale and to make money out of it. So you really do, hats off to you and the council for making this happen this year. Fingers crossed nothing kind of happens, to prohibit that. But the arts and culture industry is just incredible, and the people, are what give that electricity to so many. How, for you, from an artist and a creative person like you, what has kept you going through this period?
What has kept us going? I mean, you're right in saying that this year, like for Australia is so much more fortunate than a lot of other countries when it comes to all things COVID, and then like when it comes to the arts. We are open again. The plays are running, the festivals are running, and it's all happening. And I think that's been, comparatively, our shutdown period was brief, but artistically, we used the time. I used the time to, to touch base with other projects and to sort of work on the things that we can work on when they're without an audience, and to develop projects and to dream up projects, and to take a break as well. I mean, it has been hard, but also like a lot of it has been, it's a busy life, and to be able to stop, to pause, and to, reassess and then start planning again is really important. And, I think one of the hidden benefits of this really shitty time.
Yeah. Oh, it's awesome. No, I think, look, you've done an amazing job. I'm so excited and just full of anticipation around the Bondi Festival. It's been awesome talking to you, Rachel. Thank you so much for giving us such a lot of your time today and answering such, fantastic questions. And
thank you, Mia. Yeah. It's been excellent.
It's been really good. Thank you so much. Do you want to just sign off and say anything that head over to the website?
I mean, come to the festival. We open very, very soon. So head to bondifestival.com.au to see what's going on. And if you do come and say hi. I'll be there every day.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
If you enjoy this podcast, subscribe via your preferred podcast platform for more episodes of A Moment with Modern Mentors.